Hey entrepreneur, this is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. Welcome to this special presentation entitled How and Why You Should Put One of the Simplest and Most Powerful Marketing Ideas to Work for You Right Now. Because it will definitely make you a lot of money, entrepreneur, and save you a lot of time. Ladies and gentlemen, this video is going to expose you to one of the most powerful and often overlooked marketing ideas that can and should be part of your long-term marketing arsenal. And here's the weird part. Believe it or not, it comes from watching a pay-per-view boxing match at a friend's house. Let's take a look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a question for you. Have you ever gone to a friend's house to watch a pay-per-view boxing match, or have you ever paid for a pay-per-view boxing match and had some friends over? Let's say you're watching a Floyd Mayweather fight and it costs $49.95. Now you got a couple of choices. You could either pay for this thing yourself and get the wings and the pizza and all that and the beer and, sit there and watch it by yourself, or you can do what most people do. Let's suppose you charge $10 for some friends and 9 of us decide, you know what, that's a good deal. So that means you're going to get 90 bucks. So let's just make it, instead of $49.95, let's just make it $50, so the math is a little easy. So it's going to cost $50 to get the fight. And of course, as a good host, you want to throw in a little pizza, maybe some wings, and of course you got to have a little something to wash it down with, right? So for the 90 bucks, this takes care of everything. So in essence, the person who's hosting this gets to fight for free, right? And I think most people are pretty familiar with that. They go, okay, yeah, Mark, I see that. That makes sense. I've done that several times, Maybe the food choices are a little different, but you get the concept. Now, let's step outside the box just a little bit. And let's see how this might work. Let's suppose there's a trade show that comes to town annually, and you decide you want to get a booth. But you can't get one of those cheap booths. You got to represent. And let's suppose a particular booth you want to get is, say, $7,500 or X. It's the concept here. It's not the physical numbers. So here's what you might do. You might find 3, or it could be 2, 1, doesn't matter. But we'll say 3 non-competing people who need your same customer, that particular audience. And let's say you offer them this. For $2,500, they can represent at this trade show. Well, obviously they can't get a booth for $2,500, right? So if 3 of them decide, hey, that is a good deal, because in essence, that's a third of the normal price. So they'd be saving 2/3. So if 3 people decide to do that, that's your $7,500. Now, you may say, well, wait a minute, Mark, no offense. I can see how if I'm attending the fight at a local friend's house, or if friends are coming to my house, they're physically going to be there to watch the fight. That makes sense. Why would somebody pay $2,500 when they're not going to be renting a booth? How are they going to make out in this deal? It's very simple. But before we cover that, let me just say this about the previous slides, because I want you to see a couple of things, because this is just part 1. In part 2, we're going to cover some other stuff, because I really want you to see how powerful this is. But here's the point. If you put up $10 for a fight that costs normally $50, and you get wings, pizza, and beer, or if it's just wings and beer or whatever, let's say that fight only goes 2 rounds. Well, you still had the company, you still got to eat, and you still had a good time. And you saved 80%. Whereas if you do it by yourself, you're still on the hook for the beer, the food, and the 50 bucks for the fight. And now let's say the fight only goes 2 rounds. Right? That's not so good. So here's the point here. How are they going to make out writing a check for $2,500? In other words, what's in it for them? How are they going to make out? They know it's going to be anywhere from 10 to 25,000 people. Let's say it's a 3-day event, say a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday, or a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday, whatever the case may be. They know it's going to be a ton of traffic in there. But how do they make out for $2,500? What's in it for them? Well, you're going to pull out the secret weapon, entrepreneur. You say, well, Mark, what's the secret weapon? What else? You're going to hold a free drawing. Now think about it. Before, you were going to write the check for $7,500 by yourself. Now, since they've in essence written the check for the same $7,500. In fact, you may have to write it up front, and then you get the money back from them. But the point is, now you can take part of your money that would have normally went to the booth rental, and you can put an extremely powerful lead magnet carrot and hang it out in front of that audience, so you know that you will lead generate. And now, but here's the best part, and we're going to go way more into this in depth in part two, but I just want you to see this. Think about what they're getting for $2,500. You're all going to joint venture the list. In other words, you're going to share it. But here's the powerful part that you stress. They get to keep 100% of their profits, because they're going to mail to these people themselves. They get to keep 100% of the testimonials. They get to keep 100% of the repeat, or if these people upscale and purchase other products and services, and they also get to keep 100% of their referrals. So the question you have to ask is that worth a $2,500 investment or X? In other words, you see the concept here. I think most savvy entrepreneurs would be able to see that. And if they don't see that, you probably don't need to be joint venturing with them. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can see this is one of those powerful marketing ideas that absolutely, positively should be part of your long-term marketing arsenal. You can either use a concept like this to leverage watching a pay-per-view boxing match, or you could apply it to something like this and make a ton of money. And as I said in part two, we're going to go into some other strategies so you can see how powerful this might be. So with that said, for those of you who want to discover how you're going to add an additional 25% more gross profit to your bottom line, do so in the next 90 days or less. Then entrepreneur, do yourself a favor. Grab, read, and apply that free 9-page special report. Head over to youcanmarketonlinenow.com/sales, because that's where you get it. This is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. We'll see you again next time on the Marketing Minute.